We go and make our way to the Utira town library, but before we enter, we are stopped by Nora and Damien, our two rivals. Basically, we're gonna have to battle either one of them. We have the option. Since we've battled Damien more recently and more times in general, I'm gonna choose Nora to battle because I haven't battled her in a long time. I also find it kind of unfair that they can use their Pixie legendaries and icon, but whatever, we go ahead and battle Nora. The battle was pretty uneventful. The only interesting thing I thought happened was she had a Flygon, and not an ordinary Flygon, but a Mega Flygon, by the way. It looks super cool, not going to lie. It looks pretty cool. And I kind of just Ice Beam it. So, yeah, that's kind of all that happened. And unfortunately, that's all Nora was. She kind of didn't pose much of a threat, but you know what? It happens. Damien complains that she hasn't been doing much helping with the research, so we need to lend him a hand to find books about the prophecy between the Pixie Pokemon, choosing the trainers, and taking down the cults. Damien also gives us Abyssal Cult DNA because it's apparently was sticking onto him, so yeah, that's pretty cool. So now Mew can transform into an Abyssal Cultist, which is pretty neat. We explore the library and discover the abandoned wing, and we are confronted by Zachary, the librarian here. Basically, he tells us there are tourists that come across to check out the prophecy, but really nothing happens, and he warns us that we might as well go, but we persist on looking at the prophecy, and he brings us inside. Nora and Damien enter first, and we go confront the prophecy. This guy thinks that orb has something to do with the prophecy, and he just wants to get it over with. We go and step ahead of the prophecy, and it starts moving, and the prophecy starts to talk, which is really funny. The prophecy forms itself into a human, and it names itself the Oracle of Delphox, and this person is the one that actually wrote the prophecy long time ago. We go and battle them, and it's a pretty easy fight, and the Oracle of Delphox goes down. She says not bad, and she'll spill the beans. Basically, even the cult leaders haven't heard the correct version. That's right, and she's gonna read out the entire thing. She's not going to do that because it's a terrible thing. So let's go. The first thing predicted was the emergence of a hero chosen by a legendary Pokemon. Secondly, this hero will succeed undefeated in Torrent. They'll move on victorious. The last secret piece of information is that in the end, the hero will join the Infernal Cult and betray their friends. That's basically, and Nora flips out. She's like, one of us is gonna betray each other. She flips out, man. She cannot stay calm in this situation. Damien stops telling her to be calm, starts to tell her that to be calm and stop being over dramatic. Nora's like, how can I be calm? One of us is gonna be a traitor. Zachary here says that he's heard prophecies way worse than this, so he goes and leaves the three of us alone. So I guess that's cool of him, and we kind of discuss me, Nora, and Damien. Now, Nora is really pissed. She's like, what do you mean, don't panic, Damien? And she just calls out Damien. She calls out, how his stepmother was right about him, how he kind of, revealed Abyssal Cult information to the Abyssal Cult, and he got stranded in a junkyard. She basically calls him out. It was a sight to see, to be honest. I didn't know Nora could be this savage. Damien obviously a bit saddened, kind of just tells us there's a gym at Sonata City and we should go challenge it. And we also need to get the gym badge to use the HM dive. Now Nora is now really sad, which is, I don't get. You just shouted at him and now you're sad. It doesn't make sense now, does it? But happens. We make our way to Miara Town, where Audrey, the Abyssal Cult leader, is here. Basically, he's talking about Lugia and whatnot, and pretty ominous stuff. She's gonna summon Lugia. She wants to flood the whole region and leave that town till last. And I also got a new team member in Cole, the Delta Snorlax. I found it in a hidden grotto. The moveset isn't looking great, but whatever. I also gonna complete my team this episode. So basically there's a side quest where you need to help this sailor out with pirates, and basically you deal with the head pirate right here. So he tells us that he leads the place, and we go battle him. This guy has a Haxorus, but Haxorus is only a dragon type, and we have a fairy type and an ice type. We take it down pretty easily, not going to lie. But he actually reveals that his leader is not a person but actually a Pokemon, and this is really confusing. So we go behind him to check who his leader actually is, and it turns out to be none other than a Delta species Pokemon, Delta Axew, which is honestly really funny to me. We encounter it, Delta Axew, and of course we catch it with an Ultra Ball. This is gonna be my final team member in this series, so yeah, we caught it and we name it Flidley as a reference to flint, like metal. We go train it and evolve it into a Delta Fracture, and subsequently we also evolve it into a Delta Haxorus once it reaches the appropriate level. Mind you, Delta Haxorus looks freaking cool, man. Like, oh my god, the chains out of his head is insane. It also learns a really effective move called Heavy Slam, which is basically depending on the weight difference, it's gonna do a amount of damage, which is amazing.